All right, welcome back to the Tool World Podcast. I'm your host, David Jew, and I'm here with Master Jew.
Hello there, Mr. Jew. How's
Hello.
it going?
Yeah, it's
Doing
going
good?
okay.
Yeah. Seems like winter again.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyways, all right, so just recently we had the 70th birthday of Taekwondo, and that was on April 11th,
1955.
1955, and that marks the 70th year of Taekwondo.
Well, I guess the naming of Taekwondo.
Yeah, naming of Taekwondo.
I think that's what it is.
All right.
Because General Che, obviously, he was developing all of this stuff, and then I think it was April 11, 1955. If I'm not mistaken, it was the name, right? Was there was a bunch of names that were submitted to a board of masters, and they decided that Taekwondo was the one to go with.
So there were other masters in this, helping with Taekwondo development.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Yeah, you weren't there, but
I wouldn't have been born yet.
So how did
I am getting old, but I'm not that old.
How did General Che become like the founder of Taekwondo if there was other masters?
Okay.
Like
Well,
in ITF standards. I mean, if you look at like WT, there's kind of like the Kwans, and you had, different masters, and you can definitely tell that some patterns are developed by other masters because it's kind of written that way with General Che.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is going back and trying to explain the development of Taekwondo, right? General Che, when he was a child, I believe, learned the art of Taekwon, which is mostly foot techniques, and then he also became a second-degree black belt in karate, and found that there are certain things that were advantageous, and started developing this idea or these concepts, developed Taekwondo, and through his development, I believe April 11, 1955, that's the name when it was decided that was going to be the official Korean martial art within that. But obviously, during that whole time, you've got a bunch of different Kwans. I can't even say.
Kwan.
Yeah, I don't want to even say if they were there, but you have different masters as well, and they did get together and decided that Taekwondo was going to be the name. There's definitely some people that are more knowledgeable about that history. Grandmaster Vatali, I think he's very into that. He knows a lot about that.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
I think sometimes he comments on some ITF pages. So if you have any questions, it's probably better to maybe message him about history about Taekwondo.
I've learned a lot from him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
A New Yorker.
Okay, cool.
Or on the East Coast anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, President Che would be an excellent person to, get that information.
Yeah.
But he probably been also very young at the time. Well, no, I'm not sure when was he born.
All right, well, let's keep moving on. So,
Okay, let's move on.
70th year, we also had celebration of Taekwondo in Korea. And we had a couple of our students, they attended, as well as from the U.S., you had Master Johnson.
Right, he did a speech.
Also.
Yeah, he was very knowledgeable about the history, I think. He was there doing a speech or a presentation, and then we had a couple students that competed at the Taekwon-Do, is that what they call it?
Yeah, the One Championship.
The One Championship.
And they had, I heard, like 22 countries. But that's besides the point. I think the biggest thing is, what does 70 years of Taekwondo mean?
What do you
And
think?
is it the biggest martial art? Let's just say Taekwondo in general, not ITF versus WT, but Taekwondo.
Oh, well, I think when you talk to people in the martial art world, or maybe not even the martial art world, you just maybe talk to regular people on the street, and Taekwondo would definitely would come up, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I remember when I kind of first started Taekwondo. What was that? Karate? Yeah, everyone knew karate.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And so I remember my first dojo says Taekwondo, Korean karate or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that.
Right.
I mean, that was the only way to go. What is Taekwondo? Is that something you eat or what?
Yeah,
In
okay.
America, anyway. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that would be true anywhere else. But definitely back in the 70s, well, I mean, ITF was 1966, so, 10 years later, it's starting to build its name. And so I think today, if you talk to people, even people on the street, Taekwondo, I think most people would kind of know. It's more of a household name as opposed to, is that sushi or something?
Okay. So what makes Taekwondo appealing? And I think a common misconception is that Taekwondo is kind of old, but in reality, 70 years marks that it's actually quite young.
Absolutely.
A martial art. And so,
absolutely.
it's not anything that's deeply rooted in ancient history here. And of course, you do pull the history in Taekwondo, but why have we seen such a huge emergence in both ITF or WT? And it definitely depends on where you live. I know like some areas, ITF is way more prevalent, popular.
Right.
I would probably say maybe more in the US. I think you see a little bit more of the WT, especially on the West Coast of the schools, right? And so why have we seen such a big emergence of Taekwondo?
Well, I think when you first look at what General Che was doing, and that was to share his art, and he traveled around the world to teach Taekwondo. And obviously, you kind of need people to teach it. So he did kind of recruit people that had martial art background, but maybe not know the exact way of performing Taekwondo. And that's why he created this international instructors course and go over the patterns. It was a lot of it was just about the patterns, how you execute the techniques, the concepts of that. Because I think when he first started, you can look at a book and you could tell when people learned it from a book versus actually in a seminar, because they would do certain techniques, and like you look at photograph and you do like a pressing block and they would do it like hands over on top of each other and go, why do you do it that way? Well, because the photo kind of looks that way because it's only one dimensional, and you need someone to actually show you the application and those kind of things to help with that. I think it starts with that, but then you also have the WT, which I think is 1977. They become part of, trying to spread Taekwondo in that way, but more on the sports side. And so they got the bid for the Olympics. General Che did want to be part of the Olympics, but he wanted to keep a lot of the aspects of Taekwondo, the breaking, and not just a demonstration, but breaking and patterns and sparring, and where now I think most of the WT Olympic is mostly the sparring part of it, and then the rules are different, obviously. But I think with that, when you see it on TV and you hear it on the Olympics, that really helps as well.
Yeah,
and I think that's a big push for it as well.
Yeah, I'd probably say that's probably pretty true. Well, I can't speak about other like organizations or other martial arts, but I think that having a large organization has really helped as well. Whether you're in ITF, you have some large organizations that manage large groups of students within the ITF system. And then you could say the same about WT, following under the Kukiwan, getting the certifications, and that's done through like the South Korean government as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting too, because you have a lot of independent schools that don't affiliate with a larger organization, right? It kind of depends on what the instructor or dojo really wants. I don't like that idea myself, but I understand. It's kind of like if we issued a Juice Taekwondo black belt certificate. Okay, you go somewhere on the East Coast and go, who's that?
Right.
Don't you know Master Ju? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you have an ITF certificate, okay, yeah, we know who that is.
Right.
So
that's true.
Maybe that's the reason why you would want to be part of a large organization.
Yeah.
But if you stay in the same area, what's the difference? Shoot, you have lots of organizations.
All right, so any other thoughts on the emergence of Taekwondo, celebrating 70 years, or why have we seen such an increase?
Why do we see an increase in Taekwondo?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at like Taekwondo itself, there's a lot of just like benefits to it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it's very friendly for somebody that's starting out. And you got like the forums, which are very beloved by a lot of people, even people that don't do like ITF. We're going to talk about ITF for a second here.
Right.
Even though those people that don't do ITF, you could do karate, you could do Kukiwan, right? But the forms are very liked by a lot of people.
Yeah, it's interesting too because a lot of techniques you might see something similar in karate. You know, which one came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It could have been the other way. Again, if you look at General Che's background, I think Taekwondo is probably the last kind of martial art. Other than that, I think people might be coming out with something that we could come up with something, right?
Yeah.
Judokwon or something.
Okay.
Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And what is it? It's probably just maybe setting up a different form or something. I don't know. Are you really recreating something? I think what General Che did was something very unique, something very different, teaching something different that other people aren't doing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think also as well, I think that Taekwondo, might be one of the last because it's not just about the techniques in it, but it's also about the philosophy.
Absolutely.
And, what are we seeing nowadays is that there's a culmination of just cultures mixing through the internet, travel.
Melting pot.
It is slowly becoming more of a one system because, everything's just kind of blending together. And so I think
You're talking
at
about
that
mixed
time,
martial art?
Well, yeah, mixed martial art, but I'm talking about philosophy. So it's interesting in the history. Taekwondo is very nationalistic. It's very about that Korean history and about Korean pride when it was kind of created, and that represents also the time period of Korea and what was going on in the world at that time, right? And so it is possible.
Taekwondo is a reflection of the Korean people.
Yeah.
And if you look at the history of Korea, I think there's definitely some things about it. I would say Taekwondo is kind of an aggressive art. And I think a lot of that has to do with obviously history. It has some influence.
Yeah.
And obviously the influence on General Che and what he's gone through.
So we never know what will happen in history, but we are here celebrating 70 years.
70 years.
And we'll maybe make another video when it reaches 100.
140 years? 70 years from now? I don't know about
100 will be a big one. It will be a big birthday.
100. Let's see.
Yeah.